So you have enough affirmations now to last you for the week. Okay. And it's so good to be back here in Unity of Fort Wayne. And I got to tell you, when I crossed the Indiana line, I heard myself sing back home again in Indiana. So I welcome you to Unity of Fort Wayne, all members and friends, guests, and metaphysicians. I am Reverend Wanda, and I am so blessed to serve as spiritual leader of this wonderful place. So I have a little report from conference, and I would like to share with you that one of the highlights for me was hearing Camille Gephardt's name called out as having completed the requirements for and receiving her certificate in spiritual direction. Now, this is what this program entails, okay? A spiritual director or companion is a person who holds space for another as they navigate their own spiritual journey. They hold sacred space and remain prayerful so that they may support others in living in harmony with their highest self. And through practicing deep reflection and providing honest feedback, a trained spiritual director's sole purpose is to support others in being deeply aligned with their own inner spiritual guidance. Now, the program entails every fall a 2-year cohort program begins, and it's not easy. All classes must be completed in a consecutive sequence. And all the programs, all the classes and lessons are unique to this program. So it's not like you can go in and take prep classes and have them count. You start from the ground up. Other classes in other programs do not count towards spiritual direction certification. And this is their goal. This is their mission, is unitive consciousness. Unitive consciousness. To awaken into a consciousness of oneness and to be willing to step out of dualistic thinking. They apply metaphysical wisdom, the transcendent wisdom from ancient to contemporary mystics to help develop and find your inner life purpose. They go on a journey and assist others in the evolution of their spiritual consciousness and how to connect with this consciousness. To discover an authentic divine nature, and are encouraged others to do so as well. And then they learn many different paths to contemplation and meditation in the goal of inner peace. Now, Unity, we talk a lot about prayer and a lot about meditation, but the spiritual direction program is unique specifically because they also focus on contemplation. They practice the many different paths to inner peace through contemplation or mindfulness traditions. If Camille would come forward, I'd like to congratulate her, and I have a gift for her. I'm going to tell you, I have been so proud of her for the last 2 years, but it wasn't until conference, until I realized 2 years of hard work that you've been through. Mm-hmm. So I admire you as well. So.
Thank you.
If you would stand and let's give her our blessing. Okay. We bless you. We appreciate you. and we behold the Christ in you. We love you just the way you are.
Congratulations.
Okay, this is, okay, I kind of lost my place right there. All right. The biggest issue, the order of business taken at conference was the acquisition of Unity Worldwide Ministries by Unity Worldwide Headquarters. If the straw vote taken during the meeting with Unity Worldwide Headquarters is any indication, come fall during the annual business meeting, an official positive vote is expected for Unity Worldwide Headquarters to acquire Unity Worldwide Ministries. This is an acquisition and not a merger, so it's going to be a little bit different than what most of us imagine. Our movement will simply become Unity or Unity Worldwide. However, each ministry will remain autonomous, and at this time, the branding will remain as it is. We may be required to rewrite our bylaws to reflect this change, but for the most part, we will not see any significant changes, except for one thing. Woohoo! When you call out there, they're going to have one major number, and they're going to go to a switchboard, and they'll direct you where you need to go. Because when I call out there now, they go, oh, no, you need to call headquarters, or oh, no, you need to call ministries. So that's a real good change. And the other issue brought before the board was Unity's Statement of Peace. And you can find all of Unity's social statements on www.unityuwm.org. And I'm going to read this statement of peace to you, okay? This is what Unity, their official statement. Unity stands for peace in the presence of conflict, for love in the presence of hatred, forgiveness in the presence of injury. Unity honors the many names of God, the many paths to God, the many ways to worship God, for there is only one power and one presence of God, and that God loves each of us equally. It is therefore the position of Unity Worldwide Ministries and Unity Worldwide Headquarters at the Unity Village to urge all nations, their leaders, and their people to turn to God by whatever name for guidance during these challenging times and pursue peace, not war. For this is what honors the God of all faiths tradition. Unity stands for peace in our lifetime. And lastly, and for me personally, I had the opportunity to complete all 5 of the required continuing education units. So that's the highlights of the news from conference. All right, so let's shift our minds and take a moment to consciously breathe and welcome the abiding Spirit. Divine indwelling Spirit, the divine one of all, we welcome and acknowledge your presence. We come to acknowledge you as creator and provider. You are everywhere present. You are every power, all power. You are all knowing, all knowledge. And as we begin this time together, may our thoughts and our actions be guided by you. May we accomplish our goals while displaying your character. And we are thankful for your ever-presence, love, and abundance. And so it is. Amen. Today and for the month of June, the power of the month has been imagination, the light of conception, vision, and embodiment. So I wanted to spend a few moments with our power of imagination and reaffirm Kelly's message on June 1st. I knew last month that imagination was scheduled for June, and the next power of the month is understanding for July. And this message kind of ties the two together. Anyway, about 6 weeks ago, many of you know that my uncle is in the nursing home, and he really is in the last stages of his life. So I've been making an effort to drive down every Friday to spend the day with him. And, you know, it's not a long drive. It's only about 2.5 hours. You drive it a lot. It kind of gets boring through the country, and you hope, pray you don't get behind a tractor. And so I'm kind of just thinking, you know, music comes on, and I don't even know what song it was, but one of the lines had something about imagination. So I'm thinking about imagination, you know, just how really powerful imagination is. And as I'm driving along and my mind is wandering, I got to thinking about how powerful imagination was and how everything, its foundation is based on imagination. I mean, I kind of think when I hear imagination, I always think like when I'm coloring in my coloring books or playing with my Barbie dolls, or when my son would wrap a towel around his neck and he was Superman, you know. I'm talking manifest that inner child, how it felt to actually imagine something that was just as real to our child minds as what we think reality is. So I got really thinking about how foundational imagination is and how unique that is. I believe animals, trees, everything is infused with life. And I believe that animals have intelligence. I believe they're emotional. I believe they have feelings. But I don't know that they have imagination. You know, I don't know that they actually imagine like what we imagine, you know. And how unique that is, and how powerful, what a wonderful gift it is that we have. And for a moment, I mean just for a moment, I totally understood it. It was like the whole world just turned to this effervescent light. And just as quickly, you know, it's gone. So it's like, I knew it, but now it was just like one of those aha moments, how powerful the power of imagination is. And then, you know, you have this inner knowing, and then poof, it's gone. So, and as I'm thinking about all this, I look up, and there's a semi-truck coming right at me, and across the top of it, and great is a black cab, across the top of it, in great big white letters, was the word imagine. Imagine. And there was no not seeing it. I mean, it was like, ah. And it was one of those moments where I heard the words of Jesus where it said, let those who have ears hear, and those who have eyes see. So I invite you to take this moment and to think about how everything in your life begins with the imagination of some form. Imagination. And I will be very honest. I imagined this place. I imagined you. I held it in my heart. It's just like, how beautiful this is. Charles Fillmore, Unity's co-founder, writes the importance of imagination in his book, The 12 Powers of Man. And this is quoting Charles. When the faculties of the mind are understood in their threefold relation, spirit, soul, and body, it will be found that every form and shape originated in imagination. It is through the imagination that the formless takes form. The spirit of truth projects into the chamber of imagery, imaginary pictures that, rightly understood, will be a sure guide for all people who believe in the omnipresence of mind. So in Fillmore's words, we see this pattern, a pattern to imagination, which is the light of conception, vision, and embodiment. And it grows from imagination into the power of faith, which is the light of perception, conviction, and expectancy. And then finally, the power of understanding, the light of comprehension, realization, and insight. In other words, we may see the writing on the wall, but not always have the faith in what we see, and let alone seek the understanding or do the work that leads to understanding. While researching the power of imagination, I was really surprised to find that Plato related the same lesson to his students, one of many that Socrates taught him. And he wrote about it in his work, The Republic, what is known loosely as the analogy of the divided line. The analogy of the divided line is cornerstone to Plato's metaphysical teachings: imagination, belief, and understanding. So new thought isn't so new after all. Today is the last Sunday of my first contract with Unity of Fort Wayne. And over these past 2 years, I've seen spiritual growth individually, collectively, in you, in our community. I've seen it, I imagined it, and I see it. We've had a few heartbreaks and a lot of disappointments. And we've worked together, and we've grieved together, and we have prayed together. We've tried new things, some successful and some not so. And through it all, you have encouraged and supported me, and I am so very thankful. So today I ask you to hold this vision with me, to imagine the highest good for Unity worldwide as they make the decisions, and for this community. Imagine the highest good. Whatever you believe or think that highest good, imagine it this moment. Because Spirit will hear it collectively, and they're going to sort it all out. Imagine the highest good. So I'm reading from Matthew chapter 18, verse 20, and it tells us, it reminds us, where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, I am there among them. And in the Hebrew Bible, in the book of Ecclesiastes chapter 4, verse 12, it tells us, though one may be overpowered, 2 can defend themselves. And a cord of 3 strands is not easily broken. So I ask you to join with me in envisioning the highest good. For a cord of 3 will not be easily broken. We will not fail. We will not break. The phrase, a cord of 3 strands is not easily broken, teaches us that the strength found in unity and relationships, that individuals are stronger together as a single strand can be easily broken, while a 3-fold cord represents resilience and stability. This metaphor illustrates the importance of companionship and support indicating that collaboration and connection enhance our ability to withstand challenges. And I have a wonderful example for you. I have a cold, got to clean it here for a second. Who knows about Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego? Raise your hand high. Okay. Who has never heard the story of Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego? Okay. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but I might, okay? All right. You're going to find this in Daniel chapter 3. It says, it's the image of the gold in the blazing furnace. All right. Set your mind. We're going to have a story. King Nebuchadnezzar, pause. This is during the destruction of the first temple when the Jewish people were in captivity in Babylon, okay? King Nebuchadnezzar made an image of gold 60 cubits high and 6 cubits wide and set it on the plain of Dura in the province of Babylon. He then summoned, I'm going to paraphrase some of this because it's a lot of words. He then summoned all of his officials, the governors, the advisors, the treasurers, the judges, the magistrate, everybody, all the officials of the province to come to the dedication of the image he had set up. So they came, and all the other officials assembled for the dedication of the image that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up, and they stood before it. For all you metaphysicians, this is wonderful. I'm telling you, this is a passage. You could really get into it. And then the herald loudly proclaimed, nations and people of every language, this is what you are commanded to do. As soon as you hear the sound of the horn, the flute, the zither, the lyre, the harp, the pipe, and all kinds of music, you must fall down and worship the image of gold that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. Whoever does not fall down and worship will be immediately thrown into a blazing furnace. And therefore, as they heard the sound of the horn and all kinds of music, all nations and all people of every language fell down and worshiped the image of gold that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. Politics, of course, enters into it. At this time, some astrologers came forward and denounced the Jews. They said to King Nebuchadnezzar, "May the king live forever. Your majesty has issued a decree that everyone who hears the sound of the music must fall down and worship the image of gold, and that whoever does not fall down and worship will be thrown into a blazing furnace. But there are some Jews whom you have set over the affairs of the province of Babylon, Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego, who pay no attention to you, your majesty. They neither serve your gods or worship the image of gold you have set up." Now, I'm going to pause here, give you a little more history. When the Babylonian warriors first came in, they didn't completely destroy the city, but they did carry off all the educated and the elite people, okay? So this is where Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came in. They were actually had official positions in the court, okay? Furious with rage, Nebuchadnezzar summoned Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. So these men were brought before the king, and Nebuchadnezzar said to them, "Is it true, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that you do not serve my gods or worship the image of gold I have set up? Now, when you hear the sound of the horn and all kinds of music, if you are ready to fall down and worship the image I made, very good. But if you do not worship it, you will be thrown immediately into a blazing furnace. Then what God will be able to rescue you from my hand?" Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego replied to him, King Nebuchadnezzar, we do not need to defend ourselves before you in this manner. If we are thrown into the blazing furnace, the God we serve is able to deliver us from it, and he will deliver us from your majesty's hand. But even if he does not, we want you to know, your majesty, that we will not serve your gods or worship your image of gold you have set up. Then Nebuchadnezzar was furious. He was so furious that his attitude towards them changed. And he ordered the furnace to be heated 7 times hotter than normal. And he commanded some of the strongest soldiers in his army to tie up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and to throw them into the burning furnace. So these men, wearing their robes, their trousers, turbans, and other clothes, were bound and thrown into the blazing furnace. The king's command was so urgent and the furnace so hot that the flames of the fire killed the soldiers who took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And these 3 men, firmly tied, fell into the blazing furnace. Then King Nebuchadnezzar leaped to his feet in amazement and asked his advisors, "Were there 3 men that we tied up and threw in the fire?" And they replied, "Yes, certainly, your majesty." And he said, "Look, I see 4 men walking around in the fire, unbound and unharmed, and the 4th looks like a son of the gods." Nebuchadnezzar then approached the opening of the blazing furnace and shouted, "Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, servants of the Most High God, come out here." And so they came out, and all the royal advisors and governors crowded around them, and they saw that fire had not harmed their bodies, nor a hair of their heads were singed, and their robes were not scorched, and there was no smell of fire on them. Then Nebuchadnezzar said, "Praise be to the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, he who has sent his angel and rescued his servants. They trusted in him and defied the king's command and were willing to give up their lives rather than serve or worship any god except their own. Therefore, I decree that the people of any nation or language who say anything against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, here we go again, will be cut into pieces, and their house will be turned into rubble. For no other God can save in this way." Then the king promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the province of Babylon. So I'm asking, that's a long story to prove a point where a cord of 3 cannot be easily broken. I ask you, where did that 4th person come from? Do you think that vision that they saw, that person that they saw standing in the flames was already there? Do you think somehow they just managed to jump in there when the other 3 were thrown in? Where did that 4th person come from? I propose angels are messengers, okay? Metaphysically, angels represent messengers. So I've got to work on that part of the story a little bit, like what was the message? Maybe the message is a cord of 3 cannot be easily broken. That 4th person, that divine entity, emerged from the inner self of those 3. Because the prayers of 3 in community is stronger than the prayers of 1. So I invite you to join with me in holding the future of this community, in holding the future of Unity Worldwide Ministries. I invite you to use your power of imagination to create and to hold the high watch, for this place, for this particular spiritual community, and the highest light of good, so that no flames may touch us, that we will not be bound up with ropes or things or thoughts, and to know, to understand that we are unbounded and free. And to hold this truth, to create this truth that no matter the outcome, all is in divine order. That our power of imagination, our vision, will be led by faith and conviction, understanding, and with gratitude and thanksgiving. And it will lead us to the manifestation of our highest good. That we are whole and holy. For we know we can never be separated from God or from one another. So for meditation today, I'm just going to invite you to close your eyes or soften your gaze and just take for a few moments to breathe in and out and affirm to yourself, I am. And I have faith and hold this vision. And together we can call forth the highest good. We welcome all that is. We welcome all that has been. And we welcome all that will be. And we hold this image throughout the earth. We hold this image throughout the sky and through the water, through the mist, and through the fire. Divine presence rises in my heart. It sings through me. Knowing that we see God in the eyes of one another, speak to me through their lips, and speak to me while in the silence. And we affirm that all manifestation comes through the catalyst of gratitude. We are thankful and grateful for this community. We are thankful for the power of imagination, the power of faith, and the power of understanding. We affirm, I am. And as you continue to breathe in and say to yourself, I am, when you are ready, you may open your eyes and bring your awareness back into this space. Poet John Dillett Freeman writes of imagination. Imagination is the act of power, of forming a mental image of something not present to the senses, or never before wholly perceived in reality, a force that frees us. The imagination is the power that frees us from all limitations of our senses, the power of conception. I am imagination. I am faith. I am understanding. Thank you for your kind attention. And I ask you, do you believe in something you've never seen before?